Om Namah. So once again, welcome back. So I also welcome Jijit Nidimuri ji for our today's session on Ṛgveda. So let's start with a prayer. Om Dhyayamo Dhamalavakunthanavatim Tejomayim Nashtikim Snigdhadhangavilokinim Bhagavatim Mandasmita Srimukhim Valsalyamritavarshinim Sumaduram Sankirtanalapinim Shyamangim Madhusikta Suktim Amritanandadvikam Ishwari Om Amriteshware Namaha Om Amriteshware Namaha Om Amriteshware Namaha. So once again, I welcome you all for today's session. So I also welcome Jijit Nidimuri ji to take up the session and go ahead. Jijit ji, can we start?
So welcome for today's talk. So we have been following the trails of the Ṛgvedic rivers, and it is very much equivalent to a Tirtha Yatra, like we have in the Mahabharata, the Tirtha Yatra Parva, where King Yudhishthira was like guided by the sage Lomasha and his brothers, for three brothers. Bhima, Nagula, and Sahadeva went along with him and traveled all over the Bharatavarsha, crossing the rivers, etc. So we are doing something similar, but in an earlier period than Yudhishthira, at least 1,000 years before Yudhishthira to around to the early Ṛgvedic period, that is 3,300 BC to very close to Yudhishthira's lifetime, but at least 100 years earlier to him. Like during the reign of Shamtanu, etc. So this is something like a similar kind of a Tirtha Yatra along the Ṛgvedic rivers that we are doing as part of the studies. So far, if you recollect, we have gone past many other rivers like Haryupya and Yavyavati, the two names, of which Haryupya is the Drishadvati river, another name of the Drishadvati, the Chautang river, the river Rakshi Chautang river, and Yavyavati is a western branch of the river Yamuna, which was having an independent flow, and Haryupya and Yavyavati were flowing very much parallel to each other towards the west of Yamuna and towards the east of the Kurukshetra. So with the Haryupya or the Shadvati forming the eastern boundary of Kurukshetra. So you have just one more river, Yavyavati, which is passing very close to it, within few kilometers to the Haryupya, that is Yavyavati. And such a river configuration is a very unstable river configuration because when two rivers are very close by, the hydrology, the hydrological laws means that they will sometimes join together, sometimes they will separate, sometimes they will disappear. So that is what happened after the Ṛgvedic poet narrated them. The river, the hydrology has changed a lot. So we don't see a Yavyavati river now. We are only seeing a Drishadvati and a Yamuna river now. So the Yavyavati, that channel, the western channel of the Yavyavati is revived by the Haryana State Irrigation Department by creating the Yamuna Canal, etc. So that is all about a recap about Haryupya and Yavyavati. And in the Ṛgveda, I am recapping that these two rivers are mentioned in a battle where two great kings, Srinjaya Devavata, representing the Bharatas or the Purus, and Abhyavartin Chayamana, representing the Anavas, the Anus, were together and then fighting a common enemy like many of the common enemies. So that is the kind of context in which the river Yavyavati and Haryupya are mentioned, like two cows running parallel. That is the kind of context in which the two rivers are mentioned. And we have done a Tirtha Yatra along the river Ganga, mentioned in the Ṛgveda. Of course, then it is the early Ṛgvedic period in 3000 BC, which means how many? So, for example, close to 2000 BC. So it's more than 1400 BC years earlier than Pandavas were living. So if you consider the equivalence, we are in 2022, and we are talking something which is happened in the 8th century or 6th century CE during the Gupta era. So that much difference. So Pandavas, from the point of view of Pandavas, it is 1400 years earlier. Things we have a glimpse of the river Ganga at that period of time, very early in the period in the history. So we have seen the river Ganga as part of an active trade network with Prabhu, one of the leader of the Panis, that is the trader community, having a kind of trade post there on the Urkaksha, or the what do you call the wide seashore, the wide shore of the river shore of Ganga, and it later developed into a trade post. And this location was very much close to Hastinapura, but not yet not related to Hastinapura, but Hastinapura emerged after 1400 years later to that kind of events. And we have seen the Ganga mentioned as Jannavi, named after the ancestor of Vishwamitra when Kushikas migrated to the Ganga region from the Kurukshetra region. So that also we have noted down. Then we have explored the great river Saraswati, and found out the largest number of reference to any river in Ṛgveda, that is Saraswati River. And the river Saraswati's references are too numerous, so I will not be mentioning it again in the recap. So you can go through that session video which is released publicly, where the river Saraswati and its importance, everything is mentioned. Then we went through the river Drishatvati, the largest tributary of Saraswati, which is flowing along Haryana, defining the southern boundary of Kurukshetra, where Saraswati was defining the northern boundary of Kurukshetra. So that also we have seen, and we have seen Saraswati is a river of lakes, Saras, and Drishatvati is a river of stones. So there are a lot of stone, rocks, etc. in Drishatvati. That is why the rishis named it Drishatvati. And Saraswati is a river with a lot of lakes, or the river that connects a lot of lakes. Also, that is why the river is named as Saraswati. And we have seen a river named Apaya, which is the oldest river name. Apaya is the oldest river name because it is etymologically simply means the flow of water. That is, Apaya is water, Apaya, flow of water. And in the Mahabharata, the name is slightly shifted because of the evolution of the Sanskrit language and new vocabulary coming in a later period. So we have Apaga as the name of the river. So it's the same river. And this river was flowing through the middle of the Ṛgveda, the middle of the Kurukshetra. And we have explored the possibility of this river being very close to where the Bhishma was falling down, and Arjuna shot an arrow and water came out from that region because of the existing river flow. Of course, it was dried up during the period of Pandavas, but existing as a kind of little bit water, slight even lakelets, very small ponds, etc., existing in that course. And of course, we also noted down that this river was the ancient course of river Saraswati, and later it changed its flow in a different route, forming the northern boundary of Kurukshetra. So this particular older course became a tributary of Saraswati, active during rainy season, etc. And we noted down because it's so ancient name, Apaya is a very ancient name. Its later name, Apaga, later transformation, Apaga, etc., is used for many rivers, including Ganga and Chandrapaga, Chanab River. And that is the reason why the Bhishma is called Apaga Sudha, because even though he is a Ganga Putra, he is also known as Apaga Sudha because of this transformations. And then we have gone through Vipash and Sututri. So we have Vipash Sututri, that is the two rivers which is to the in the Punjab river, that is in the Punjab actually. So today we will be focusing on the Vipas Sudutri rivers. So these names, the Vipas and Sudutri, it is very close to the current names of these rivers. So when I simply say Vipas and Sudutri, people may be able to relate it to Bias and Satluj. That is the current name of the river. So the river name has undergone two levels of transformation as we look at it now. The ancient name is Vipas and Sudutri, and later it is known as Vipasha in the Mahabharata and Shatadru in the Mahabharata. So Mahabharata, slightly the river name changes to Vipasha and Shatadru. So Sudutri is changed to Shatadru and Vipash is changed to Vipasha. So that is a very small change that has occurred. So let me look at the relevant map to actually describe the Vipash Sudutri confluence. Yeah, so maybe a few things about the Vipash Sudutri. So in the Ṛgveda, where it is, in which context the river Vipash and Sudutri are mentioned. So this is very much related to Vishwamitra in the third mandala. So we know that Vishwamitra is the one of the when you talk Vishwamitra, Ṛgvedic Vishwamitra. Of course, there are two sets of Vishwamitras in the early Ṛgveda, who is the Vishwamitra who was the advisor to King Sudas. And then we have the late Ṛgvedic Vishwamitra. So we are primarily talking about the early Ṛgvedic Vishwamitra here, who was the if I say this Vishwamitra was the advisor to King Sudas. So late Ṛgvedic Vishwamitra is mostly discussed in my second book, Geography of Ramayana, where this late Ṛgvedic Vishwamitra is interacting with Sri Rama, giving education to Sri Rama, etc. So in this book, currently in this particular session, we are focusing on the advisor of Sudas, the early Ṛgvedic Vishwamitra. So it's a very interesting passage in this particular what do you call it? The early Ṛgvedic Vishwamitra and relate his relationship with these two rivers. So here we have the Vipash and Sudutri. We can see here. Yeah, this is Bias, that is Vipash, and this is Sudutri. So as you can see, there are so many divergence in the course. So many this is all. This is for example, a different course of the Vipash, and then later on that course there is it become a tributary, right? Say the cut happen here, and this is the river flow start flowing. This becomes a tributary. The same similar kind of happenings of it's a typical common problem. I mean, common transformation of many rivers. So you have Vipash here, and you can see a kind of line here. This is an old channel of the Vipash. Similarly, Sudutri have a kind of a channel like this. Some ancient channel, another channel like so, and of course this channel is very important because this is through which Sudutri was in a very ancient time. Sudutri was flowing into Saraswati, and this is the reason why the Sudutri contains the Sudutri river. The Sudutri river contains the snow water because the Satluj is originating from the Himalayas. Even crossing the Himalayas, it is originating from the Manasarovar near Kailasa. So Mount Kailas. So this is a very, we can say the textbook of the snow-fed river, because one of the greatest snow-fed river, and traveling through the snow-fed Himalayas for a longer duration. So from this originating from the Manasarovar, near to the Manasarovar lake, passing to the Tibetan plateau, and then finally through Himachal Pradesh, it comes to the Indo-Gangetic plain, and along in Punjab, it connects with the Vipash and then flowing. So earlier, in some point of time, there was a channel like this which goes into the Saraswati. Saraswati is downwards here, and because of that, there is a signature of snow in Saraswati river. So there are many geologists who say that the river Saraswati contains snow signature, snow-fed river signature. and because of that, it is a snow-fed river, etc. So, but there are many other geologists who say the river Saraswati is primarily a rain-fed river. So this kind of conflicting information is because they are not completely looking at the geology. Yeah, of course, it will have a snow-fed river signature in a very ancient period when this Satluj was joining, a stream of Satluj or Sududri was joining the river Saraswati. So that causes the snow-fed signature. So not only Satluj, there are many other unknown rivers who can originate from the snow-fed Himalayan mountains and can join river Saraswati, and then later on change into the course into river Yamuna. And that is also another geological fact. So there were so many tributaries of which were earlier joining river Saraswati and giving it abundant snow-fed water. And slowly those were captured by Yamuna, and then because of that, Saraswati was completely reduced to a rain-fed river. And this throughout, even in the early Ṛgvedic period, the rishis narrate it as primarily as a rain-fed river. I have, I think, mentioned it in my Saraswati lecture, but otherwise I can mention it now. The rishis always describe Saraswati as a rain-fed river. That is why the concept of Saraswant, etc. is there. Saraswant is a representative of the clouds, the rain clouds giving rain to Saraswati. So by 3300 BC, the early Ṛgvedic period, the river is already well known as a rain-fed river, not as a snow-fed river. So whatever snow-fed condition were earlier to the 3300 BC, it's a pre-Ṛgvedic situation. So the reason for all this, one of the major reason is this channel of Satluj, and so many other rain-fed rivers which were so many other snow-fed rivers which were draining into Yamuna, into Saraswati and then transformed to Yamuna. So these are the main reasons why by the time Rishi started observing it, the river Saraswati was a rain-fed river. Like that. There is no passage in the Ṛgveda about Saraswati which tells that it is coming from snow-fed regions. Like Manasa Saras, etc., are not mentioned. So, but it is there for River Sindhu, that kind of concepts. River Sindhu is very much mentioned in that manner, but Saraswati is not mentioned in that manner. So these are all the name Haimavati. That means the river is snow-fed river. Hima is snow. So Haimavati is a river coming because of the snow. That is Himalayan snow. So Ganga and Yamuna, many other rivers are mentioned as Haimavati. And of course, in the later period, as a attribute, sometimes the very rarely it is applied to Saraswati, but it is not very late information, so we cannot take it as a face value, like as if it is found in a Ṛgvedic verses. So Ṛgveda completely describes Saraswati as a rain-fed river. And the snow signature was primarily because of this particular channel. And of course, this other old channels are there for each river, like you can see the Marutvrita here, actually. I will talk about it when it is discussed, the river Marutvrita. So the rivers have the dynamics of this river dynamics is a very kind of volatile dynamics when you talk about within a centuries, river have a lot of dynamics. So the best way to depict a river in passing through different centuries is a video and not a image, because the dynamics can be properly captured only in a video, like a video illustration, not in a pictorial illustration, because so many changes happen as every century passes by. So this is basically I'm talking about the geological aspect. Now I'm talking about how is the Vipas and Sududri described in the Ṛgveda. So because this was a period when the Vishwamitra was the priest or the advisor to King Sudas, and he led an expedition to the northwestern direction. Because King Sudas had very much interested in territorial expansion. He is one of the greatest king in the Ṛgveda with a large territory, spanning the final territory of Sudas after conquest, spanned from the Yamuna in the east, which is bordering the Haryana UP, and it was expanding up to Parishni River, that is this Ravi River, Iravati Parishni River, along the Punjab border. That means the Indo-Pakistan border. So this is the western. We are now looking at the western boundary of the final territory of King Sudas. So this much territory he has captured. So the narrative about Vipa Sududri is the episode in which Vishwamitra was coming from leading an army of King Sudas and proceeding like that. And he was crossing his confluence. We passed Sudutri confluence here. So this is described in the third mandala.